welcome. You're watching Good Morning India. I'm Gargi Rawat. Stay with us for all the news you need to start your day with. Up ahead, we'll get you all the latest on the farmer protest. It's the 22nd day. Also, cold wave in Delhi and in the north today. Let's take a look at the headlines we're tracking. The priest of a Gurudwara from Haryana, Baba Ram Singh, who joined the farmers' protest, has died by suicide. He left a note saying it was to express anger and pain against the government's injustice. The Chief Justice of India proposes a government farmers panel. The court says the centre's negotiations do not work and is bound to fail again. The centre and state governments are to respond to the proposal today. Mamata Banerjee loses a key party leader. Suvendu Adhikari resigns as an MLA. The BJP says many more Trinamul leaders are waiting to join. The COVID transmission chain can be broken in 6 months, says the Delhi AIIMS director. Post-COVID life in India after 1 year of the start of the vaccination. Icy winds sweep North India. Weather Office predicts a cold wave in Delhi for the next few days. Our top story, the priest of a Gurudwara from Haryana, Baba Ram Singh, who had joined the farmers' protest, died by suicide on Wednesday at the Delhi border, according to officials. Now, he had reached the Delhi border on Tuesday evening. He's left behind a note in which he says he is sacrificing his life to express anger and pain against the government's injustice. The Deputy Police Commissioner of Sonipat said that the priest was rushed to a hospital in Panipat and was declared dead on arrival by the doctors. Most opposition leaders have tweeted condolences. The list included Congress's Rahul Gandhi, Chief Minister Captain Amrinder Singh, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal and the Badals. The Haryana government is yet to comment on the issue.
देखिए मैंने भी ऐसा सुना था लेकिन अभी कंफर्म हुआ कि ऐसे सुसाइड हुआ है। मैं संयुक्त किसान मोर्चे की तरफ से जो उन्होंने सुसाइड किया इसके साथ तो बहुत दुख प्रकट करता हूँ उनके साथ। लेकिन ये भी मुझे मालूम हुआ कि उन्होंने एक नोट लिखा है जिस नोट में उन्होंने लिखा है कि किसानों का दर्द मुझसे सहा नहीं जाता, सरकार एकदम बल्कि सुन रही है बात।
And Captain Amrinder Singh tweeted, extremely shocked and saddened on learning of the tragic news of Sant Ram Singh Ji of Nanaksar Singra Wale from Karnal ending his life at the Shingu border in protest against the centre's farm laws. My prayers are with his family and supporters. Sukhbir Singh Badal tweeted anguish to hear that Sant Baba Ram Singh Ji of Nanaksar Singra Wale shot himself at the Shingu border in Kisan Dharna. Looking at the farmers suffering, Sanji's sacrifice won't be allowed to go in vain. Rahul Gandhi also tweeted, Sant Baba Ram Singh from Karnal died by suicide over the farmers' condition at Kundli border. My condolences in this moment of grief. Many farmers have sacrificed their lives. The Modi government has crossed all limits of cruelty. Well, let's go across to NDTV's Ghazali now for more on this story. And Ghazali, so it's really very tragic, this priest dying by suicide. Tell us what happened. He came and he saw the farmers' protest, and it's after that he died by suicide. He also left behind a note.
See, this religious leader or Granthi, he was based out of Karnal and he has been making visits to the Dharna site or the protest site near Singhu Kundli border. His followers used to were also distributing blankets for the protesters there, and day before yesterday evening he arrived at Kundli border. He met the Haryana Bharatiya Kisan Union leader Gurnam Singh Chaduni, held a long meeting with him just to know that what is the progress of the entire protest, like what will be the progress of the agitation since the deadlock has been prevailing for so long. So, but yesterday he in the evening told his followers that leave me alone, I am going into my car to do some part, and later his followers found him dead and he shot himself. The police, the Sonipat police has confirmed that he shot himself, and in the letter it clearly mentions that he was pained over the plight of farmers or the agitation and how the government has not been responding the way it should be. And these were the contents of his letter, that how people have shown solidarity by returning awards, and I am also joining them by sacrificing my own life. Now, since this news broke out, he has got number of followers in Punjab, Haryana, and even in abroad. So once this news broke out, his followers started gathering at Karnal, in the Karnal district, where he was, where he used to be heading a Gurdwara. He used to head a Gurdwara in Karnal's Singra village. So yesterday evening, the situation looked a bit tensed when his followers started gathering there. But then later on, the BKU chief from Haryana, he rushed from Singhu border to Karnal, pacified the protesters or his followers there, because they were raising slogans as well. Now, this is the first case of a suicide or death by suicide where a person shot himself. Till now, more than 20 people have died either by cold or heart attack, or many people have also died having met with an accident on the Delhi-Amritsar highway, returning from the protest or either going to attend the protest. Now, the Haryana government has not responded till now. This has happened in Karnal. Karnal is also CM's own constituency, Khattar's own constituency, but no comment as of now from the Haryana government. And though leaders from opposition party like Congress, Aam Aadmi Party, Akali Dal, they have all shown they expressed their condolences for this death. Now today, through the entire day, his body will be kept at the Gurdwara in Karnal district, from where he belonged, for the public to pay their homage. And on Friday, it is likely that he will be the final rites will be done on Friday. So as of now, this entire agitation, if we talk about the farmers' agitation as of now, the farm union leaders have also said that on December 20th, they will mark it as for those, they will mark the day for those who have lost their life during this agitation. Now, what will be the course of how the agitation will progress further? What will be the strategy of the farm union leaders? Because they have already blocked the roads. Now, how they will progress further, whether there will be any talks, though the Supreme Court has intervened, saying there should be a committee, and the farm union leaders are also thinking who all should be party in that committee, which union representatives should be a party to the committee, because the government has been trying to create differences or to harp on those differences, because you see, Punjab and Haryana have now got local body polls as well. So this was also one of the tricks of the government to ensure that opposition parties which are backing the government should now focus on polls in their own state, so that they don't back the farmers or they don't join the farm agitation. So everything is going on now. Farm union leaders will have to decide that how this protest will go further, or how the talks will resolve the crisis. Gargi.
All right, Ghazali, thanks so much for joining us with that. And absolutely shocking, this death by suicide of a priest. As Ghazali said, the funeral will take place tomorrow. But so far, no word from the Haryana government, an outpouring of grief by many from the opposition. Now, it is day 22 of the farmers' protest, and yesterday NDTV's Arun was at the border, and he spoke to some sugarcane farmers about the subsidy on sugarcane that has been announced by the government. Here's what they had to say.
Government today announced subsidy on sugar export. Hashtag government with Ganna Kisan is also what Centre launched or announced this news with. We are coming to you from Chilla border. This is Noida Delhi border. I have a lot of farmers here from Uttar Pradesh, and they are sugarcane farmer. गन्ना के किसान है सर आप। तो आज एक बड़ा फैसला सरकार ने कहा है कि उन्होंने किया है कि 3500 करोड़ रुपए की सब्सिडी उन्होंने अनाउंस किया, जिसका सीधा लाभ उन्होंने बोला कि 5 करोड़ किसानों को मिलेगा। इसके अलावा और बहुत सारे और लाभ भी उन्होंने बताए हैं। तो आपकी पहली प्रतिक्रिया क्या है?
हमारी प्रतिक्रिया कैसा मिलेगा ये बताया सरकार ने? ये पैसा
डायरेक्ट खाते में आएगा,
मतलब डायरेक्ट किसान खाते में आएगा। हाँ। किस हिसाब से कितना?
तो देखिए, एक तो उन्होंने 3500 करोड़ की बात की है, उसके अलावा उन्होंने 18,000 करोड़ की भी बात की है, उसके अलावा 3500 करोड़ की भी बात की है उन्होंने, और एक 53,061 करोड़ की भी बात की है। तो 3 तरह की पेमेंट्स की बात की। उन्होंने कहा कि एक तो 1 हफ्ते में आ जाएगी, जो 53,061 करोड़ है वो सीधा अकाउंट में आ जाएगा। क्यों? क्योंकि खपत हमारी कम है और उपज ज्यादा है
ना। तो इससे ऐसा है कि किसान को तो वही पैसा मिलेगा जो इन्होंने रेट तय कर रखा है, और 3 साल से रेट 1 रुपया बढ़ाया नहीं है इन्होंने।
अच्छा, इससे पहले भी सब्सिडी मिलती जब अनाउंस होती थी?
ना मिली।
अच्छा, जब अनाउंस हुई कभी पिछले सालों में, तो आपको उसका लाभ नहीं
मिला।
और वैसे आपको क्या लगता है, जो एक्सपोर्ट के ऊपर सब्सिडी है वो शुगर मिल को मिलती है या आपको भी उसका लाभ मिलता है?
वो तो शुगर मिल को मिलती है, शुगर मिल को मिलती है ना, जो सब्सिडी देते शुगर मिल को मिलती है। अच्छा। अगर चीनी मंदी जा रही है, अब ये कह रहे हैं कि चीनी मंदी जा रही है, ये तो करी सरकार।
लेकिन शुगर मिल जो आपको पेमेंट करती है उस पर तो असर पड़ेगा ना फिर?
उस पर कहाँ असर पड़ता?
क्योंकि अगर सब्सिडी शुगर मिल को मिलेगी तो कहीं ना कहीं आपकी पेमेंट पर असर पड़ेगा।
पेमेंट पर कहाँ असर पड़ता? सब्सिडी तो पहले भी दी सरकार ने, तो पेमेंट ऐसे ही लटका में।
अच्छा,
हाँ।
आपका क्या नाम है?
अनूप सिंह।
कहाँ से आप?
मैं हूँ बुलंदशहर से।
अच्छा, वहीं आप गन्ने की खेती करते हैं? आप भी गन्ना किसान हैं?
मैं गन्ना किसान हूँ। मैं आपको सारी बात बताऊंगा। आप सब्सिडी की बात करके, पहली बात तो हमारे किसान यूनियन का जो संगठन है, किसान यूनियन का जो आंदोलन है, ये हमें लॉलीपॉप देके हमारे आंदोलन को कमजोर करना चाहते हैं। इन्होंने बहुत सारी बातें कही थी जब 2014 में आए थे। इन्होंने कितने कितने लॉलीपॉप दिए थे। इन्होंने जब आलू किसानों को हमें आगरा में कहा था कि मैं तुम्हारे लिए एक ऐसी मशीन लगाऊंगा कि आपकी आय दूनी कर दूंगा, और 2014 में फिर इन्होंने मेरठ में भाषण दिया हम गन्ना किसानों को कि गन्ना किसानों तुम्हारे लिए कैसे मिल तैयार करूंगा। लेकिन भाई साहब ये बात सब्सिडी कर रहे हैं, हमें तो तुम हमारा पैसा ही दे दो। आपको पता है 1 साल में गन्ना हमारा तैयार होता है पूरा। 1 साल में गन्ना तैयार होने के बाद भी हमको 1 साल पेमेंट नहीं मिलता है। आज भी 4-4 पर्ची हमारी उन लोगों को पड़ी हुई है जो आज तक हमारा पैसा नहीं बना है।
With camera person Sanjay Kaushik, Arun Singh for NDTV.
Now, the farmers' protest will soon become a national issue. That's what the Supreme Court said yesterday, suggesting that a solution be found urgently through negotiations. The centre's negotiations do not work and is bound to fail again, is what the court said, suggesting a panel be formed with representatives from all stakeholders, farmers' associations, as well as government nominees. Now, the centre and state governments are to respond to this suggestion today during the hearing.
On the 21st day of the farmers' protest in freezing temperatures, the Supreme Court proposed a panel to resolve the standoff. The panel would have government nominees and union members. The farmers are adamant in demanding a rollback of the 3 recent farm laws. The centre is equally adamant against that.
सर्वोच्च न्यायालय है और देश में रहना होगा तो कानूनों को मानना होगा।
सुप्रीम कोर्ट अगर कमेटी बनाता है तो आपको मंजूर होगा?
हाँ, तो सबको मंजूर होगा। ठीक कहा कोर्ट ने।
तो आप लोग बातचीत के लिए तैयार हैं?
हाँ, हम काम नहीं कर रहे, हम तो सरकार को पिछले 8 दिन से ढूंढ रहे।
The centre informed the court the difficulty with farmers is a yes or no approach. The ministers talked to them, but they turned their chairs back and did not talk. It appears now that some other interests have taken over the farmers' protests. We will not do anything against the farmers. However, the Chief Justice of India shot back. What's the point of saying so when it adversely affects them? Your negotiations do not work and are bound to fail again. This will become a national issue soon and has to be resolved through negotiations. We are proposing a panel of government nominees and farmer associations. Respond by tomorrow. The government is seriously considering some legally enforceable guarantee to ensure that the farmers get the minimum support price. How is something that is being worked out, whether to exempt states like Punjab and Haryana. But the government is definitely unhappy with the Supreme Court's intervention of forming a committee and taking over the executive's role.
No, we have already briefed on what the cabinet decided today. Now, the latest on farmers agitation, and Tomarji will he continuously informs you also.
The court was hearing pleas for reopening roads as well as amenities for the farmers. Mr. Solicitor General, we see that the petitioners are ill-conceived and there are no legal issues before us. The only party before us who have blocked the road is you. Solicitor General says, I have not blocked the road.
Both the government and the farmers now hardening their stand, but the top court now wants to find a way to solve this issue and balance the right to protest and free movement. Vidya Vaidyanathan, Ashwini Mehra, Amaksha Dongre for NDTV.
And icy winds swept North India on Wednesday. The mercury dropped below the freezing point in several hilly areas of Himachal Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir, and that always means that it's going to get colder in North India. And Delhi has registered a minimum temperature of 5.8 degrees Celsius yesterday. The India Meteorological Department has predicted both a cold day and a cold wave in parts of the national capital over the next few days. You can see visuals from early this morning as the cold wave has gripped the national capital. And here's what farmers at the protest site, remember they are out there protesting. They've been sitting there, as Ghazali was telling us. At least 20 farmers have also died since these protests began. It's the 22nd day and they're also dealing with this cold wave.
हम यहाँ पर बैठे हैं, इतनी ठंड में हमारे हर रोज एक लाश पंजाब को जाती है। हम वो पीएम यहाँ पर आकर हमारी हाल चाल नहीं पूछ सकता। इससे निकम्मी और बेकार सरकार हमने आज तक नहीं देखी और ना ही कभी आएगी।
Well, let's get you the latest on COVID, and India is getting vaccine ready. The director of AIIMS in Delhi, Dr. Randeep Guleria, has said that the chain of transmission of coronavirus can be broken in 6 months. He also said that post-pandemic life in India will only be normal after a year from the start of the vaccinations.
In the next 6 months, we will have two things. One is we will have sufficient degree of individuals who have got infected and recovered and have some degree of immunity, and the vaccine itself will also provide some degree of immunity so as to break the chain of transmission and bring down our mortality.
That's really important. So 6 months after the process of administering the drug takes place, on the basis of injecting frontline workers, doctors, those with comorbidities above 50 and below 50, you should be in a position in 6 months to break that chain of transmission, right? In other words, those who get it later are relatively safer, relatively.
Correct. And therefore, I'm not saying that COVID will go away in 6 months.
No.
COVID will stay for quite some time, but we will be in a much better position to say that we are now back to a near normal. A lot of normal life will start coming back to what it was in the pre-COVID era. But I think we will have to wait for maybe a year or so before we can say that, yes, we have now really gone to what we call a post-pandemic phase.
Well, that's what Dr. Guleria had to say. Time for us to slip into a short break. On the other side, we'll tell you about Delhi's plan for the vaccinations.
I have with me Dr. Sunila Garg. She is a fellow of the World Health Organization, also an advisor to ICMR. The training program for vaccinators in Delhi has begun, and she's also been addressing the trainees there. We'll speak to her more on how vaccinators across India are being trained. Ma'am, my first question to you is, for the state of Delhi, how many healthcare workers are being trained currently, and what does the training program involve?
Yeah. So basically, we have to look at 609 cold chain points. So whichever machinery is involved, so we have got approximately 3,500 people whom we are targeting first, but you have to remember that this is a big program. So we are targeting everyone, basically who is going to be involved in immunization process right from the state level. That means the state immunization officer, and then, down below to the district level, and then we are going to go to the, grassroots levels. So see that everyone is there who is trained. Now coming to the real situation, what is going to happen at the booth on the day of vaccine, it's not that we start afresh. We have to make preparations much in advance in terms of, how the vaccines will be coming to the cold chain point, number one. Number two is that, so they have to have at least 3 rooms. We cannot make one room which is going to be very crowded. Okay, so then there is going to be point 1 where the officer number 1 is going to sit. So who makes sure that he or she is the right candidate for the vaccine. Number 2 is he is going to verify his or her identity. Number 3 is that we are going to have 2 people who are going to monitor the crowd. And also simultaneously, there are going to be people who are vaccinated and sitting over there. They have to be monitored for good half an hour. And their important role is also to see that not only they lose a sight of, of the adverse event, anything which happens, which they have to respond to very quickly, but also they have to see that there is a responsible environment which is maintained over there, so that we do not have any rumors coming out. Let's say, God forbid, if there is some person who develops a allergic reaction and all that, so we have to behave very responsibly and act immediately. So it is not, because every person is different, his response is different. Though as of now in our clinical trials we have got no major side effects, except any vaccine will have the pain, fever and all, which usually subsides in 24 hours. But definitely we are having, anaphylaxis management trays also over there. Then comes the job of inoculators, or there are going to be 2 people, and we have kept that in a day we will be doing not more than 100 vaccines nations a day, and these are going to function from 9 to 5. That is going to be their activity. And then comes the important role of monitoring. That means the team leader is going to see that, at the vaccination point or at the cold chain point, everything happens smoothly. There is a good monitoring and evaluation mechanism. And the last and most important thing is that apart from monitoring all of this, that we have to do proper biomedical waste management. That means whatever, vaccine has been utilized and needles and syringes and all that. We are going to use the auto-disabled syringes, but then you see their disposal is very important, which is already worked out with regard to universal immunization program. So that way India is very lucky.
The priest of a Gurudwara from Haryana, Baba Ram Singh, who had joined the farmers' protest, has died by suicide. He left a note saying it was to express anger and pain against the government's injustice. The Chief Justice of India has proposed a government farmers panel. The court says the centre's negotiations don't work and are bound to fail. The centre and state governments are to respond to the proposal today. Mamata Banerjee loses a key party leader. Suvendu Adhikari resigns as an MLA. The BJP says many more from the Trinamul are waiting to join. COVID transmission chain can be broken in 6 months as Delhi's AIMS director. Post-COVID life in India will normalize after 1 year of the start of vaccinations. And icy wind sweep North India. The Weather Office has predicted a cold wave in Delhi for the next few days. Our top story, a priest from a Gurudwara in Haryana, Baba Ram Singh, who had joined the farmers' protest, died by suicide on Wednesday evening at the Delhi border, according to officials. Now, he had reached the Delhi border on Tuesday evening and has left behind a note in which he says that he was sacrificing his life to express anger and pain against the government's injustice. The Deputy Commissioner of Sonipat said that the priest was rushed to the Park Hospital in Panipat and was declared dead on arrival by the doctors there. Most opposition leaders have tweeted condolences. The list included Congress's Rahul Gandhi, Chief Minister Captain Amrinder Singh, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal and the Badals. The Haryana government, however, is yet to even comment on this issue.
देखिए मैंने भी ऐसा सुना था लेकिन अभी कंफर्म हुआ कि ऐसे सुसाइड हुआ है। मैं संयुक्त किसान मोर्चे की तरफ से जो उन्होंने सुसाइड किया इसके साथ तो बहुत दुख प्रकट करता हूँ उनके साथ लेकिन ये भी मुझे मालूम हुआ कि उन्होंने एक नोट लिखा है जिस नोट में उन्होंने लिखा है कि किसानों का दर्द मुझसे सहा नहीं जाता, सरकार एकदम बल्कि सुन रही है बात।
And Captain Amrinder Singh tweeted extremely shocked and saddened on learning of the tragic news of ending his life at the Shingu border in protest against the centre's farm laws. My prayers are with his family and supporters in this time of grief. Sukhbir Singh Badal tweeted anguish to hear that Sant Baba Ram Singh Ji Nanak Sir Singrawale, who shot himself at the Shingu border in Kisan Dharna. Looking at the farmers' suffering, Sanji's sacrifice won't be allowed to go in vain. I urge the government not to let the situation deteriorate and repeal those laws. Rahul Gandhi tweeted, Sant Baba Ram Singh from Karnal died by suicide over the farmers' condition. My condolences in this moment of grief. Many farmers have sacrificed their lives. Well, news now from Bengal, and Trinamul Congress's Suvendu Adhikari finally quit from Bengal's Legislative Assembly on Wednesday, taking another step away from the party against which he openly rebelled last month. The BJP has said that many Trinamul leaders are now waiting to join.
Suvendu Adhikari in the corridors of the 294-seat West Bengal Assembly. His associates say that he is a man of action and of very few words. And today he held his silence and let his resignation letter do the talking. A brief letter to the Speaker saying, I hereby tender my resignation as member of the West Bengal Legislative Assembly. Steps may be taken for its immediate acceptance. With this, he has snapped his ties with his parent Trinamul Congress party. Adhikari has not just left Trinamul, he is set to join BJP, which Mamata Banerjee accused of shopping shamelessly. At Jalpaiguri Tuesday, she had attacked the rebels. At a mega rally at Kuch Bihar today, she targeted BJP for allurement.
10 বছর পার্টির হয়ে খেয়ে 10 বছর গভর্নমেন্টে থেকে গভর্নমেন্টের সবটা খেয়ে ইলেকশনের সময় এর সাথে ওর সাথে বোঝা বদলে আমি কিন্তু তাদের টলারেট করি না, এটা মাথায় রাখবেন।
The BJP in Kolkata reacted with restraint. Amit Shah, no less, is set to welcome Adhikari to the BJP at a mega rally at Medinipur on Saturday.
কিছু মানুষ আপনারা বলেছেন না তাসের ঘরের মতন তৃণমূল ভেঙে পড়ছে, রোজ লোক আসছে বলছে জয়েন করব জয়েন করব জয়েন করব।
Betrayal, that's what Trinamul Congress leaders are calling Subhendu Adhikari's exit from the party at this critical juncture. The big question is, how many more betrayals will Trinamul Congress have to see before the 2021 elections come along? Dissensions and discontents in Trinamul are erupting every day in growing numbers. The main complaint appears to be the importance in running the party of poll strategist Prashant Kishore, roped in by Abhishek Banerjee, MP.
যে পয়সা দিয়ে মমতা ব্যানার্জি আমাদেরকে ভেঙেছিল সেই পয়সা ওর বিরুদ্ধে ব্যবহৃত হচ্ছে। She is being paid back by her own coin.
The Trinamul Congress will try and downplay its loss, but Subhendu Adhikari was the party manager in several districts and its troubleshooter from Maoists to Marxists. His exit will dent, especially its timing. In Kolkata, Monideepa Banerjee, NDTV.
And the drama in Bengal didn't end with Subhendu Adhikari submitting his resignation. He then immediately drove about 2 hours to Panagar to the home of Trinamul MP Sunil Mondal, officially to offer condolences for a bereavement in the family. But it turned into something of a summit of discontented Trinamul leaders. Among them, Jitendra Tiwari, the Asansol strongman who complained the city was denied central funds by the state because of political reasons. His speech at a meeting yesterday, another worry for the Trinamul, Mr. Sunil Mondal, the host, had also voiced his discontent yesterday morning and said the poll strategy company IPAC was the cause of much grievance.
এরকম আমরা যারাই বিদ্রোহ কথা বলেছি আমাদের পায়ের তলার মাটি সরে গেছে, সরে গিয়ে আমরা বলতে বাধ্য হচ্ছি কেন দল সংশোধন হচ্ছে। এটা সবারই একটা ক্ষোভ, এখানে যেটা ক্ষোভের ইয়েটা দেখলাম আমি, হ্যাঁ সবারই একটাই ক্ষোভ যে আইপ্যাকের লোক আমাদেরকে বলছে মিছিল করতে, আমাদেরকে বলছে এই করতে, কোন জামাটা পরে আসবো সেটা বলতে বলছে। তাহলে আইপ্যাকে এই নিজে আমরা তাহলে রাজনীতিটা আমাদের কি মূল্য রয়েছে সেটা তৃণমূলের সঙ্গে আমরা বসবো, বসার পর তৃণমূল যদি মেনে নেয় ভালো, না মেনে নিলে সবাই
ঘটনা যে তৃণমূল কংগ্রেসে মমতা বন্দ্যোপাধ্যায় পর সবচেয়ে পপুলার লিডার যদি কেউ আছে সেটা শুভেন্দু অধিকারী। এটা তো ঘটনা, কিন্তু অস্বীকার করার কোনো উপায় নেই। এটা উচিত ছিল, যারা নেতারা আছে তাদের উচিত ছিল যে ভুল বুঝাবুঝি আছে সেটা মিটিয়ে নেওয়া। এটা উচিত ছিল শুভেন্দু অধিকারীর সঙ্গে বসে আলোচনা করা যে আপনার আবেগ কি আছে, কেন আপনি একটু অন্যরকম কথা বলছেন, এবং যেখানে আপত্তির কথা ছিল সেটা মিটিয়ে নেওয়া। কিন্তু এটা আমাদের মতো ছোট মাপের নেতা আমাদের সমস্যাই মেটায় না, এরা শুভেন্দু অধিকারীর সমস্যা কি মেটাবে? এরা ভাবে সব অন্য কারো জন্য জায়গা ছাড়ো, সব আমাদের চাই। আরে ভাই সরকার দলটাই চলে গেলে তুমি কি নিয়ে রাখবে? দলটাকে বাঁচতে দাও।
Well, back to news from Delhi, and a cold wave is gripping the capital as icy winds have swept in from North India, the mercury dropping below freezing point in several hilly areas of Himachal Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir. Well, let's go across to Divya for more on that. And Divya, this cold wave is said to continue for the next few days, and every time temperatures do drop in the hilly regions, we can expect the cold here in Delhi.
Absolutely. There is a western disturbance. There has been snowfall over the higher reaches, which is why those icy cold winds are making their way directly into Delhi. The skies are clear, which is why, usually there's pollution and it gets cloudy, which is why we don't feel that impact of that western disturbance as much as we're feeling it this time around. Of course, those icy cold winds will continue to prevail over the next 24 hours, and thereafter we can expect some sort of improvement and a little drop as far as this wind chill factor is concerned. Of course, the temperatures are expected to go up slightly. When we talk about about the temperature, especially in the national capital? Here the temperature is 3 to 4 degrees below normal, where this is the daytime temperature. But what's really making the difference is the daytime temperature, and that is down by almost 4 degrees at 18.6. The minimum temperature is also down. So cold day and cold wave conditions are prevailing. What do you mean by cold day and cold wave? Cold day is when the minimum temperature, when the maximum temperature, as a daytime temperature, that's down by 4.5 to 5 degrees Celsius from what's usually expected. And cold wave is when at night the temperature is down by 4.5 degrees from what's usually expected. Both of those are prevailing across the northwest plain. So when we talk about Delhi, Punjab, Haryana, all the adjoining areas, whether it's West Uttar Pradesh, whether it's Rajasthan, all the areas around the national capital, they're all in fact facing those cold day as well as cold wave conditions, which means temperatures are way below normal. As far as Amritsar is concerned, that's 2 degrees. That's colder than what it is at the moment in Shimla. So you can understand that even in the plains, it's not like the temperature is that much different from what it is in the hilly areas, and we are expecting some sort of improvement. But to get your whole lowdown as to what we can expect over the next week or two, let's go across to Mahesh Palawat of SkyMet. A very good morning, Mahesh Palawat. If you can just tell us, what can we expect? We do know that some sort of improvement is expected in the next 24 hours when this western disturbance starts to pass. But what can we expect thereafter? What is the weekend going to look like, and what about the coming week?
Yeah, today we expect that temperature may go down to 4 degrees once again, because already it has touched 5 degrees and winds are strong. And winds are from northwest direction, and at present it is blowing around 15 km per hour. Although we have seen a steep drop in temperatures from 13.6 on December 12 to 4.1 degree on December 15. And now these icy cold winds will continue from western Himalayas, snow-clad mountains, and this western disturbance, which is at present over North Pakistan, will not have much impact in terms of changing the wind direction over northern plains. Therefore, the minimum temperatures will remain well below normal, and cold wave conditions will persist. Although in Punjab there is dense fog, that's why cold day conditions are also there. And cold day conditions are when maximum temperature do not cross 16 degree. When it remains 16 degree or less, then it is cold day conditions. So Delhi is also facing cold day-like conditions. And yesterday, Amritsar recorded 8.2 degree maximum temperature, which was below than Srinagar, Manali, Dharamshala, Kwajigund and Banihal. So you can say that the winter chill has gripped the northern plains, and it will continue for at least next 2 to 3 days. Yeah.
Right. So at this time of the year in the national capital, the temperature should be around 8.6, and you're saying that the temperature will dip down to 4 degrees Celsius. How long before we can expect some sort of respite?
At least 2 to 3 days, because now the northerly icy cold winds will continue for another 2 to 3 days, and another western disturbance which will be somewhat strong, maybe around 20 or 21st. But again, the temperature will not head north significantly. It may be 5 or 6 degree, but it will be well below normal. As the temperature, as you have said, that it should be 8 degree. So it will not reach normal also. So the winter chill will continue for another, say, 3 to 4 days at least.
Right, Mahesh, winter set in early this time. Will it be a long winter?
Yes, we expect that it will be extended winter, and the temperatures which should be in the end of December, we have seen that they are already set in the national capital as well as northern plains, and many parts of that North Rajasthan as well as northern parts of Punjab are experiencing well below normal, that is around 2 degrees. So in next few days we can say that they may be reaching freezing point also.
Right. Thank you so much, Mahesh, for joining us with all those details. Yes, it's going to be very, very cold. Do keep yourself warm and do clad yourself well before you leave your house.
All right, Divya, thanks so much for joining us with the latest there. So a cold wave in Delhi, and just spare a thought for the farmers who are sitting in protest on the Delhi border. Well, in other news now from Pune, and Pune COVID hospital staff protested over their salary dues. Around 150 staff working at the College of Engineering Pune Jumbo facility staged a protest on Wednesday against the management of the hospital, complaining about pending payments, and this in the midst of a pandemic when they are frontline warriors. The protesters allege that they have not received their salaries for the past few months. To Mumbai now, and with the number of new COVID cases dropping and the death reported in single digits for the last 2 days, members of the state's COVID task force say the city's crowded areas could actually be seeing herd immunity.
Is Mumbai witnessing herd immunity when it comes to COVID? The state's COVID task force seems to think so. The city has recorded only 7 deaths per day for the last 2 days, and this has happened for the first time since April. With only 766 severe COVID patients in the city, the figure has dropped to below 1,000 for the first time in months. The city's recovery rate has now gone up to 93% and the infection rate has fallen to 0.21%. Hospitals have 72% COVID beds available. A little more than a quarter of the capacity is occupied. Half the number of available ICU beds are empty. The Maharashtra COVID task force is citing herd immunity to explain the drop in cases in Mumbai.
तो मुंबई में कई ऐसे इलाके हैं जहां पे कि बहुत भीड़भाड़ की एरिया में लोग रहते हैं और उन इलाकों से जो है अभी केसेस कम आती हुई दिख रही है। मुझे लगता है हर्ड इम्यूनिटी कहीं ना कहीं इन भीड़ वाली बस्तियों में जरूर आई है। बस हमको यह है कि अभी इनका जो है सीरो सर्वे करके इसके बारे में हमको निश्चित रूप से बताना है।
Dr. Gautam Bhansali, a member of the BNC task force, says the reduction in cases is due to the efforts of the frontline workers.
ये जो काम बेसिक लेवल पे हुए प्लस इसके अलावा पब्लिक का अवेयरनेस, लोग मास्क लगा के घूम रहे हैं। पहले ये लगा था कि शायद लोग मास्क लगा के नहीं घूमेंगे, लेकिन बीएमसी ने, मुंबई पुलिस ने जो काम किया है, मुझे लगता है सारा श्रेय उस काम को जाना चाहिए जो बेसिक लेवल पे हुआ है, ना कि हर्ड इम्यूनिटी को।
However, Mumbai is preparing for a new wave amid falling temperatures in Mumbai and the upcoming New Year festivities. The reservation of 80% of hospital beds for COVID patients will continue till February 2020 and a full unrestricted opening up is yet to happen. In Mumbai with Pooja Bhardwaj, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
Now, the COVID pandemic has brought huge gaps in children's education, with schools closed for 9 months now. Despite this, NGO Room to Read has managed to reach out to children and engage with them to keep the reading habit alive. Here's a special story from our new campaign, Education Endures, Back to School.
Surekha is up at 5 so she can read a story on her mother's mobile phone. Lakshmi leaves for work at 7 in the morning and won't return till late evening. The father is a car mechanic and the family of 4 has only one smartphone between them. Surekha discovered the joys of reading after NGO Room to Read introduced a library at her government-run primary school 2 years ago. Children who cannot read can start with a pictorial book with no words at all that is color-coded green. Next level is red with a single sentence on a page. Then orange, white, blue and yellow. Children progress through increasing complexity of reading, learning while enjoying themselves. The children themselves manage the library.
మాకు గ్రంథాలయానికి ఒక రిజిస్టర్ ఉంటుంది ఇవ్వడానికి. సాటర్డే ఇస్తాము. సాటర్డే ఇచ్చే తేదీ మళ్ళీ బుక్ మీద ఉన్న నెంబర్ రాసుకుంటాము. బుక్ మీద ఉన్న నెంబర్ రాసుకొని ఇస్తాము. మళ్ళీ వాళ్ళు తెచ్చి ఇచ్చే రోజున మళ్ళీ డేట్ రాసుకుంటాం, తేదీ రాసుకుంటాం.
మేము వెళ్ళి మేము చేస్తాం అన్నట్టుగా పిల్లలు చాలా ఇంట్రెస్టింగ్గా చూపిస్తున్నారు. దీంతో వాళ్ళకి రీడింగ్ స్కిల్స్ డెవలప్ అయ్యాయి, క్రియేటివ్ థింకింగ్, పెయింటింగ్, డ్రాయింగ్ చేయడం.
After the COVID pandemic, it was not possible for children to access books at the school library. So Room to Read went on to the mobile platform.
Every day or alternative days we share the content in the WhatsApp group, and the teachers will take up the activity further. Children, they will complete the activity, they will go through the activity. If it's a read aloud video, they will go through the video, and in the end some activities were given. So they will complete those activities and they will update in the WhatsApp group.
9 months into lockdown, Surekha has continued to read, spreading the joy of reading.
Doctor, engineer, software,
open-ended dreams. After all, world change starts with educated children. In Hyderabad with camera person Nagaraju, Uma Sudhir, NDTV.